Very good morning, students. Now, this is a full question on the constrictor muscles of the pharynx. Okay, this is a long question, very important, but not easy to understand. So, be very attentive what I am going to teach, though I will try my best to make it a simple, topic to understand, but really it is difficult, okay? And that's why I will be dealing it with very slowly, okay? Now, the question is, describe the constrictor muscles of pharynx under the following heads. Introduction of the pharynx, structure of pharynx, that is the wall of the pharynx, origin of constrictor muscles, then insertion of constrictor muscles. There are three constrictors, superior, middle and inferior. Okay, now supply of this muscle, action, and lastly the applied importance. Okay, so let us come first to the introduction of the pharynx. Pharynx is a muscular tube, okay, which extends from base of the skull to the vertebral level C6, cervical sixth vertebra, right from base of the skull, okay. Base is phrenic bone, okay. The cavity of the pharynx lies posterior to the nasal cavity. It lies posterior to the oral cavity and the larynx, posterior to the larynx. Therefore, the larynx consists of, not larynx, it should be pharynx. Therefore, the pharynx consists of three parts. Okay, so what are the three parts of the pharynx? Nasopharynx, oropharynx, and laryngopharynx. Nasopharynx means the part which lies posterior to the nasal cavity. The oropharynx, the part which lies posterior to the oral cavity, and the laryngopharynx, the part of the pharynx which lies posterior to the larynx. So these are the three parts. Now from the book I will show you this diagram, okay, how these parts of the pharynx, they lie posterior to these three important structures. Let us see with this. This is the Thieme Dissector, Volume 3, Head, Neck and Brain. And I am the author for this volume, okay. I am thankful to the Thieme for using this diagrams. Let us see the diagram. Let me search it. The first diagram which I want to show you. Now, let us see here this diagram, okay. I hope that you can see this diagram properly, and this is the mid-sagittal section of the head and the neck region, part of the head and the neck region. It is the mid-sagittal section. You can see here, this is the base of the skull, that is the basis phrenic bone is here, okay. And then this is the arch of the atlas, okay, anterior arch of the atlas. This is the odontoid process, second cervical, third, fourth, fifth, and the sixth cervical vertebrae. And at the level of the sixth cervical vertebrae, here lies a cartilage which is called as cricoid cartilage. And this is the lower limit of the pharynx. Now this muscular tube, as I said that the pharynx is a muscular tube. This muscular tube, where I am moving my pencil in front of the vertebral column here, below the base of the skull, is the pharynx, okay. It is the pharynx. Now this is the median septum of the nose, and just deep to it is the posterior opening of the right nasal cavity. So this part of the pharynx lies behind the nasal cavity. So this part is nasopharynx, which is limited below by the soft palate. You can see this is the soft palate hanging here. So above the level of the soft palate, this part is the nasopharynx part, and below this between the soft palate and this is the epiglottis of the larynx. You can see that this lies posterior to the oral cavity where the tongue is present, which is seen here in the median section. These are the incisor teeth, the mandible is here, and this part is here the oropharynx. This part is called as oropharynx. Below the epiglottis, as I said, up to the lower margin of the cricoid cartilage or to the lower margin of the 6 cervical vertebrae, this part here, it is of the muscular tube, is the laryngopharynx. So oropharynx, nasopharynx, oropharynx, and this is the laryngopharynx. These are the part of the muscular tube. You can see that this wall of the pharynx is the lateral wall and the posterior wall is here, which is cut here. This is posterior and lateral. The pharynx has no anterior wall because the pharynx anteriorly communicate with the nasal cavity, it communicate with the oral cavity, and it communicate with that of the inlet of the larynx. That means this is the opening of the larynx, right? So this must have given you a fairly good idea about the muscular tube, that is oropharynx, nasopharynx, and that of the laryngopharynx. I will come back to this diagram. Let us see further. Okay. Now the nasopharynx shows the opening of the auditory tube. What are the structure which are opening into that of the nasopharynx? So nasopharynx shows the opening of the auditory tube. Okay. Pharyngotympanic, the other name of which is the pharyngotympanic tube. It shows the salpingopharyngeal fold and the pharyngeal tonsil. Let us try to see these three structures, whether they are present in the nasopharynx in this diagram or not. Let us see again the same diagram. This is the opening of this tube, that is the pharyngeal tube, or it is called as the auditory tube. Sometime it is called auditory tube. This is the opening of the auditory tube here, okay, and this opening is guarded, or it is surrounded by a fold of the mucous membrane, which is like a question mark type shaped structure. See, it is guarding, it is bulging anterior to that of the opening, superior to the opening, and posterior to the opening, which is going towards the oropharynx. So this is the structure, that is the opening of the auditory tube and the opening of this salpingopharyngeal fold. It is called as salpingopharyngeal fold. Now the third part, that is the pharyngeal tonsil. It is in the wall of the pharynx. Let us see the pharyngeal tonsil, where it is situated into the nasal cavity. See this small area here, just superior to that of this auditory tube opening, and this is called as the pharyngeal tonsil. This tonsil is called as the pharyngeal tonsil. Okay, so this is the pharyngeal. So all the three structure we could see, which are seen in the posterior. Pharyngeal tonsil is in the posterior wall, while the auditory tube opening and the salpingopharyngeal fold, they are in the lateral wall of the nasopharynx. Let us see the structures which are described to be present into the oropharynx. Okay, let's come to the oropharyngeal part here. Oropharyngeal shows the presence of the palatine tonsil. Okay, we have already learned about the palatine tonsil, and this part is between the palatoglossal and palatopharyngeal fold. This is the palatoglossal arch or the fold, and this small bulging which is seen at the tip of the soft palate here in the lateral wall of the pharynx, it is called as the palatine tonsil. Okay, the palatine tonsil, posterior to the palatoglossal fold or the arch. And here is a lingual tonsil in the posterior one third is the lingual tonsil. So this is the lingual tonsil swelling, this is palatine tonsil swelling, and this is the pharyngeal tonsil, which ultimately form what is called as the Waldear's ring at the opening of the nasal and oral cavity. This is surrounded by the various kind of the tonsil, which are nothing but the collection of the tonsillar, I mean to say, lymphoid tissue. Let us come to see the laryngopharynx, and what the wall of the laryngopharynx shows. Okay, shows the laryngeal inlet and pyriform fossa. Let us see the laryngeal inlet and the pyriform fossa in the same diagram. Now this is the epiglottis. You can see the inner surface of epiglottis and lateral margin in this cut section. This is the hide bone is here, and then this is the, as I said, cricoid cartilage is here. Okay, this is the opening from the tip of the epiglottis up to this fold, or okay, epiglottic fold. This is the opening of the larynx. Okay, in one half of the opening of the larynx is seen here, and this is the inside or internal cavity of the larynx. So this is the opening of the larynx. Okay, here is the vestibular fold and the vocal fold. Lower down is the vocal, and so this is the I mean to say larynx. We are concerned with this opening, so that the part of the larynx which lies here posterior to the larynx, I mean to say part of the pharynx which lies posterior to the larynx, it is the laryngopharynx, and anterior to it lies the opening called as the this is called as the opening or inlet of the larynx. It is lying in the laryngopharynx, okay, into the larynx. Where is the pyriform fossa? I will just show you the pyriform fossa. Let me get a good picture of the pyriform fossa to show you. Okay, here it is. Then another picture from the same dissector, okay, authored by me. And here you can see now what has happened here. We have given a cut into the posterior wall of the pharynx, okay, right from the base of the skull up to it begins with the esophagus, and these margins of this lateral wall of the pharynx and posterior wall, they are reflected on either side, and we are now sitting in the pharynx, okay, sitting in the pharyngeal cavity and seeing anteriorly. So what you will see that where we have learned that this part is that of the right up to the tip of the soft palate, above it is lies the nasopharyngeal. So we are seeing the anterior opening in the nasopharynx, which are nothing but the nasal, median nasal septum, and on either side it is the nasal right and left nasal cavities. They are opening here, okay. This is the concha, okay, nasal concha are seen here, okay. Middle and inferior nasal concha, they are seen here, right. So this is the opening, posterior opening of the nasal cavity, which opens into the nasopharynx, okay. This is the posterior, I mean to say superior surface of the soft palate. The tongue is seen here in the oropharynx. These are the palatine tonsils are seen here. Then you are seeing this is the whole epiglottis, and its posterior surface is seen here. That is the surface facing to the larynx, and pharynx is seen here. And then this is the opening of the larynx, okay. This is the opening of the larynx, as it is the opening in the laryngopharynx. This is the whole is the posterior surface of the pharynx covered by mucous membrane, and you can see this fossa on either side of the opening of the larynx, which is a deep fossa called as the pyriform fossa. So just I am showing you this diagram to see that how the anterior wall of pharynx is deficient, and you will see that three opening of nasal cavity, opening of the oral cavity, and opening of the larynx, okay, opening, and a small part of the posterior wall of the larynx is also here, okay. So these are the structures which will be seen into the pharynx, okay. That's why you should understand that the anterior wall of the this pharynx is deficient. It is deficient. Okay, let's come to the further. And then another structure, important aspect which is to be learned at this level is the soft palate is present between nasopharynx and oropharynx, while epiglottis is placed between oropharynx and that of the laryngopharynx. These are the demarcation between the three types of the nasopharynx, oropharynx and the laryngopharynx, which I have already told you. Okay, I have already shown to you. Let's go to the structure. Second point, okay, of our answer should be structure of the pharynx. Now, if you will cut a section of this pharynx, let me come back to the same diagram, and if we cut the section of this wall of the pharynx, which we have cut and split it from the midline in the posterior aspect, so this pharynx wall will show the many layers. Okay, the wall of the pharynx shows many layers. Let us see, these layers. Okay, which are these layers? The wall of the pharynx is made up of 5 layers. It is 5, and from outer to inner, these are as under. Okay, no, this is wrongly written. I think these are from inner to the outer. Okay, from inner to the outer. Let me just correct it. Okay, the layers. Okay, they from inner aspect. Okay, from inside to the outer side. Okay, so outer side. Okay, inner to the outer, these are as under. So this is the inner aspect, and this diagram shows you the cross section of the wall of the pharynx, and as I said that it is present in the lateral and posterior aspect. Anteriorly, the wall of the pharynx, they are deficient because it is facing to the 3 opening of the nasal cavity, oral cavity and the laryngeal opening. Okay, so that's anterior side is not there, and this is the laterally, right lateral, left lateral and the posterior wall is there. So the inner, this is the mucosa. The first wall is the mucosa is here. That is mucous membrane lined by the stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. Okay, thick mucous membrane is stratified, non-keratinized, which lines the whole of the pharynx, right from the base of the skull up to that of the 6th cervical vertebrae, where it becomes esophagus, where lower down it becomes esophagus. After the mucosa, this is the connective tissue layer here on which this mucous membrane is resting, mucosa is resting, and this is the submucosa. It is a thin layer of the connective tissue, submucosa. So second layer is submucosa. The third layer is pharyngobasilar fascia. See this green color line which I have drawn here. This green color line is called as pharyngobasilar fascia. Okay, I will tell you a little more detail about this pharyngobasilar fascia. Let us first complete what are the other layers. The fourth layer is a muscle layer. Okay, all the muscle coat, longitudinal and circular muscle coat of the pharynx, okay, they are in the fourth layer from inner to the outer, okay, inner to out. So these are the deep to the pharyngobasilar fascia, these are the muscle. And muscle consists of 3 circularly arranged muscle, which are called as the constrictor of pharynx. They are called as constrictor of pharynx. Superior, middle and the inferior constrictor of pharynx, right? And we will learn in great detail about this circularly arranged 3 constrictors of the pharynx. Then there are 3 longitudinal arranged muscle, and they are stylopharyngeus from styloid process to the pharynx, salpingopharyngeus and palatopharyngeus. I will tell you and show you these 3 muscles which are longitudinally arranged and present between the layers of these 3 circularly arranged constrictor muscle, but I will not go into this detail of this longitudinal. We will remain confined to that of the circularly arranged muscle. Now coming to the last outermost layer which is covering to this muscle coat, and that is called as the buccopharyngeal fascia. Again I have shown you in the green color outermost, and all these muscles and fascia in midline posteriorly, they are attached to that of the median raphe, and this median raphe is a fibrous band which extend from the base of the skull and fades away, okay, and goes right up to till the lower margin of the inferior constrictor muscle. That means it goes right up to the level of the 6 cervical vertebrae. Okay. Now between this buccopharyngeal fascia, which is posteriorly arranged, and the muscle coat, there is the pharyngeal plexus of nerve. We will learn about the pharyngeal plexus of nerve and the vein. This is present here posterolaterally, this plexus of veins and the nerve, what is called as the pharyngeal plexus of nerves and the vein, they are present. I hope that you have understood the different 5 layers from inside to outside of the wall of the pharynx, okay, wall. Okay, we will learn about the muscle, but before we go to the muscles, let us come to see this, pharyngobasilar fascia, which is the third layer, from where it comes, where it is attached, and how far it extends into the pharynx. Now this pharyngobasilar fascia, let me tell you, bring a book to teach you. Okay, again we come to the same book, and now here we are seeing a diagram here which is from the posterior aspect of the pharynx. Okay, this is the posterior aspect of the pharynx, and this is the 4th layer, the muscle layer, which is covered by the buccopharyngeal fascia. The buccopharyngeal fascia is removed, so you are seeing the 3 different muscles of the pharynx: superior constrictor, middle constrictor, and this is inferior constrictor, which is extending up to the esophagus. Okay, so this is the lower margin of the inferior constrictor muscle. Now we are interested in learning about the 3rd layer deep to the mucosa, submucosa, and pharyngobasilar fascia, which lies deep to that of the superior constrictor muscle. This bluish structure which you are seeing is the pharyngobasilar fascia. Now this pharyngobasilar fascia is a fibrous sheet internal to the pharyngeal muscles, okay, internal to the. It is thickest in the upper part, where it fills the gap between the upper border of the superior constrictor. So this gap above the superior constrictor and the base of the skull is filled by this fascia, the pharyngobasilar fascia. Okay. Now superiorly, this fascia is attached to the basi-occiput, that means a sloping bone which is called as the formed by the basal part of the occipital and the posterior part of the sphenoid. So it is filling, attached superiorly to that of the basi-occiput bone. Let me tell you where is the basi-occiput bone. Again, in this mid-sagittal section, you can see that this is the hypophyseal fossa, this is the dorsum celli, and this is the sloping surface of the basi-occiput bone, which forms the wall of the posterior cranial fossa, on which lies the pons and the medulla. So this is that basi. So it's lower surface of the basi-occiput bone here will give attachment to that of the pharyngobasilar fascia. Okay, it will give attachment to the pharyngobasilar fascia. Now, this fascia is attached to the basi-occiput, then to the petrous temporal bone, and then to that of the auditory tube, okay, and to the posterior border of the medial pterygoid plate, and to the pterygomandibular raphe. Let me show you some of this structure from the base of the skull, to which structure this is attached. Okay, this is attached. Let us see. Okay, let me show you the skull, so where you can see the bony point where it is attached. Okay, where it is attached. Just a minute. Okay, let me search. Where has it gone? Okay, I will show you the base of the skull. Okay, a part of the base of the skull where these structures are attached. Just a minute, where it has gone. The pharyngobasilar fascia, which fills the gap between the superior constrictor and that of the base of the skull, is attached to this following point. Let us see this base of the skull. This is the pharyngeal tubercle which lies in front of the anterior margin of foramina magnum onto the basi-occiput bone. This is that basi-sphenoid, not occiput, basi-sphenoid bone. Now what you will see here, that this is attached to this basi-sphenoid. This pharyngobasilar fascia is attached to this basi-sphenoid bone here. Then it goes to that of the petrous temporal. This is petrous, under surface of the petrous temporal bone on either side like this, and then it goes to that of this medial pterygoid plate, to the base of the medial pterygoid plate, the posterior margin of the medial pterygoid plate. This is the lateral pterygoid and this is the medial pterygoid. So the whole of the posterior margin of the medial pterygoid plate, and then to the hamulus, okay, hamulus of the pterygoid bone, okay. This is medial pterygoid bone. So it is attached to the pterygoid hamulus here after attaching to the posterior margin of the medial pterygoid plate, and then this will extend also onto this pterygomandibular raphe. And let me show you the pterygomandibular raphe which extend from this hamulus to that of the mandible, okay, to the mandible. Let me show you the pterygomandibular raphe also, raphe also, right. See in this diagram, you can see in this diagram, this structure is pterygomandibular raphe, which is going to get attached onto the mandible. Above it is attached to the pterygoid hamulus, which we have seen. So inside these muscle, this fascia, that is the pharyngobasilar fascia, will also attach here, right, and then it will gradually fades away onto the undersurface of these pharyngeal muscle, okay, and will not extend beyond the middle constrictor muscle, not beyond the middle constrictor. So I hope you have followed the attachment of the pharyngobasilar fascia, which I was showing you that it lies between the, in the gap between the superior constrictor muscle, okay. Let me show you the same diagram again right here. This is the diagram which shows that the superior constrictor muscle and the base of the skull, this gap is filled by this pharyngobasilar fascia, and deep to it will lie submucosa and mucosa. There is no muscle support here in the uppermost part of the pharynx, okay, uppermost. It is the mucosa, submucosa and pharyngobasilar fascia. This is pharyngeal tubercle which is giving attachment to this median raphe, what is called as the pharyngeal raphe, okay, pharyngeal, from the base of the skull, that is from pharyngeal tubercle right up to the lower margin of the inferior constrictor muscle, okay, inferior constrictor muscle. This median raphe or pharyngeal raphe is extending, okay, extending. Okay, so we have completed the pharyngobasilar fascia. Now come to this, that is the muscular coat, okay, muscle coat, as I said, circular and longitudinal muscle, and lastly it is the buccopharyngeal fascia. Let me first tell you about the buccopharyngeal fascia, and then I will come to the three circular muscle, constrictor muscle. Now all these muscles, okay, which are seen here, they are under cover here, the posteriormost layer with the buccopharynx, which will cover it from the posterior aspect. Okay, this is thus covers the outer surface of constrictor muscles of pharynx and extend forwards across the pharyngomandibular raphe or the pterygomandibular raphe, and laterally this fascia will extend up to the pterygomandibular raphe, which I have shown you in this diagram. Okay, just a minute. This, after covering this, the buccopharyngeal fascia will cover these muscles, all these muscles, okay, and will extend anteriorly. This is the superior constrictor. After covering the superior constrictor muscle, it will come to this pterygomandibular raphe, which I said extend between mandible and the pterygoid hamulus of the medial medial pterygoid plate. And beyond then, this fascia will also cover onto the muscle of the cheek that is called as buccinator. So it will cover the outer surface of the buccinator, that is the buccopharyngeal fascia. It will go lower down right up to that of the, okay, to that of the inferior constrictor, okay, but then it is not very well developed, okay, lower down. This is also very strong like the pharyngobasilar fascia in its upper part only, okay, in its upper part of the pharynx, okay. So this completes the two fascia from the wall coat of this muscle coat, right. Let's come to the three constrictor, which are circularly arranged constrictor muscles of the pharynx. So I come to the third point, that is the origin of the constrictor muscle. See this is the origin of the constrictor. The muscles of the pharynx are arranged in two layers, as I said. The outer layer is semicircular, circular muscles, while the muscles of the inner layer are arranged longitudinally. The outer layer is formed by three curved semicircular muscles which overlaps each other, and they form the posterior and lateral wall of the pharynx. These are, as I showed you, superior, middle and inferior constrictor muscle, which are seen from the posterior. See it from the lateral side, superior, middle, and this is the inferior constrictor muscle, which from posterior aspect are seen very well here, and they overlap each other. Overlap each other means the superior is overlapped by the middle is overlapped by that of the inferior constrictor muscle. So now we will learn about the origin insertion of this superior, middle and inferior constrictor muscle. So let's come to the superior constrictor. The origin of the superior constrictor muscle is from the pterygoid hamulus. Now, I have drawn this rough diagram just to tell you how these muscles they take origin and how they are inserted. Now, this is we are seeing it from lateral side. Okay, this is the medial pterygoid plate and this is the pterygoid hamulus, okay, which we have already seen in the diagrams from the book. Okay, and this is the base of the skull is here. This is the basis sphenoid bone where pharyngeal tubercle, okay. I just shown a large area for the pharyngeal tubercle which gives attachment to the median raphe, and this raphe is called as also the pharyngeal raphe. So this green color line going from here to here, it is the pharyngeal raphe. Now let us see the origin of the superior. This is the superior constrictor muscle, okay. This takes, and above the superior margin of the superior constrictor, this is the buccopharyngeal fascia, okay. This is pharyngobasilar fascia, not bucco, which starts from the base of the skull, that is from the basis sphenoid to the posterior margin of the medial pterygoid to the pterygoid hamulus, okay, and inside this also goes to get attachment on pterygomandibular raphe between the pterygoid hamulus and mandible here, okay. So this is the superior border of the superior constrictor. This is the inferior border of the superior constrictor. So this whole is the superior constrictor. Its lower margin is overlapped by this middle constrictor muscle, and middle constrictor muscle is here overlapped by the inferior constrictor. So let us come to the superior constrictor origin. the origin of the superior constrictor is the posterior border of the medial pterygoid plate. Okay, so this is medial pterygoid plate, and just a little part on the posterior border, which is the pterygoid hamulus. There it takes origin, but main origin is from the pterygoid hamulus. So it takes origin from pterygoid hamulus, and then its main origin is from pterygomandibular raphe. Okay, from the pterygomandibular raphe, and then on the medial aspect of the mandible, that is onto the body of the mandible, there is a mylohyoid line, and the posterior end of the mylohyoid cannot show in this diagram. I could not show in this, but it is from inner aspect. It is a little or few fibers will take origin from the posterior end of the mylohyoid line also, and some of the fibers will also take origin from the base of the tongue, that is posterior 1/3 of the tongue on its lateral margin. Okay, the posterior. So this is so many sources of origin: pterygoid hamulus, pterygomandibular raphe, from mandible, that is posterior end of the mylohyoid line, and from the lateral margin of the base of the tongue itself, the fibers will take. They will spread out and run and will get attached for insertion. They will get attached to the first uppermost fibers will go and get attached to this pharyngeal tubercle. This is called as pharyngeal tubercle. Okay, on the basis sphenoid bone, okay, in front of the foramina magnum. So this will go and get attached to the pharyngeal tubercle, and then the rest of the fiber will get attached to that of the median raphe or the pharyngeal raphe. Again, to see this insertion of the superior constrictor muscle. This is the pharyngeal tubercle, and the uppermost fibers, they are going from both the side to the pharyngeal, but most of the fibers, they will go and get attached to the median raphe, okay, or the pharyngeal raphe. So this is the origin, insertion of the superior constrictor. Let us come to the middle constrictor origin. Okay, the origin of the middle constrictor is, this is the middle constrictor, and this is from the lower part of the stylohyoid ligament. See, this is the styloid process, and this is the lesser carnua, the greater carnua, and the body of the hyoid bone. So this is the stylohyoid ligament. The green color line is the stylo, between the styloid process and the carnua. And then this is from the posterior margin of the stylohyoid ligament. The middle constrictor is taking origin. Then it is also taking origin from the lesser carnua of the hyoid bone. This is the lesser, and this is also giving origin. Then it is taking origin from the superior border of the greater carnua of the hyoid bone. So hyoid ligament is, and this is the stylohyoid ligament, its posterior margin, the lesser carnua and greater carnua, all three, they give origin to the middle constrictor, which will also fan out, and its superior border will overlap to that of the superior constrictor muscle, while it will also overlap to a muscle which is a longitudinal muscle of the pharynx, stylopharyngeus muscle, and this will go and get insert again into the median raphe or pharyngeal raphe. Okay, this is the median raphe going. Right, so this is the middle constrictor. Let's come to the inferior constrictor muscle. Now the inferior constrictor muscle consists of the two parts. Okay, you can see here, this is the upper part of the inferior, and this is the lower part of the inferior. Upper part of the inferior constrictor is called as thyropharyngeus. Thyro, because it takes origin from the oblique line of the thyroid cartilage. It takes origin from oblique line, while that of the lower part is called as cricopharyngeus. Why? Because it takes origin from this cartilage. This is cricoid cartilage. So the cricopharyngeus, and upper large part is the thyropharyngeus. Now let us see the origin of thyropharyngeus. This takes origin from the oblique line of the lamina of the thyroid cartilage. Okay, thyroid cartilage. and a tendinous, this in green color, a tendinous band which is extending between the thyroid and the cricoid cartilage. Okay, this will also give origin to that of the lowermost fibers of the thyropharyngeus, which is the part of the cricoid cartilage. Okay, crico. Let us come to the lower part of the third, inferior constrictor, and it arises from the cricoid cartilage behind the origin of the cricothyroid muscle. Takes here origin, and just behind this is the attachment of the cricopharyngeal part of the inferior constrictor muscle. Okay, now all these muscle will go and get attached to the median raphe posteriorly in the midline. Okay, into the midline. So this is the origin of superior, middle and inferior constrictor, and their common origin insertion onto that of the median raphe in the posterior wall. Okay, into the posteriorly onto the. Let's come to the nerve supply. Okay, let's come to the nerve supply. Okay, before I go to the nerve supply, let's complete those longitudinal muscle. This muscle we have already seen is stylopharyngeus, which goes between superior constrictor and that of the inferior constrictor. Let me go to the other two longitudinal muscles which are small. The other two longitudinal muscles of the pharynx I will show you with this diagram. Let us see this diagram first. This is the basis sphincter bone. This is the median septum of the nose. These are the nasal openings as seen from the nasopharynx. Okay, we are looking at anteriorly sitting in the nasopharynx. This is a dissected specimen where the mucous membrane has been removed, and thus it is showing the anterior end of this auditory tube, opening of the auditory tube in the nasopharynx. Okay, so mucous membrane has also been removed from this opening of the auditory tube, and then you will see that this from the auditory tube a longitudinal muscle is running, and this muscle is called as salpingopharyngeus, which is going deep to that of the superior constrictor of the pharynx. So this is superior constrictor, and this muscle spreads up deep inside the pharynx. Okay, the second longitudinal muscle is also very small, and this is at the free margin of the palate. It starts and then it goes towards the pharynx. This is small muscle. This is called as palatopharyngeus because this is the soft palate, uvula, and the soft palate, posterior margin of the soft palate, from where it is taking origin, and called as the palatopharyngeus. So these are the two other small muscles, the palatopharyngeus as well as that of the salpingopharyngeus muscle. Okay, so thus there are three longitudinal muscle: stylopharyngeus, the salpingopharyngeus, and the third is the palatopharyngeus. Now I will come to the nerve supply of the muscles, okay, or the pharyngeal musculature. Now the nerve supply of the pharyngeal muscle, it is supplied by the pharyngeal plexus of nerve. And I told you that where is this pharyngeal plexus of the nerve is located. I told you that the pharyngeal plexus of nerve is located posteriorly, okay, between the muscle. On the surface of the muscle, okay, the posterior surface of this muscle and the buccopharyngeal fascia. And this is not only the plexus of the nerve is supplied, what is called as the pharyngeal plexus of nerve. At the same time, there is the plexus of the vein is also present on posterolateral aspect on either side of the pharynx. So this plexus of the nerve, pharyngeal plexus of nerve, has the three component. Okay, the first component in this plexus is the pharyngeal branch of the vagus. So the vagus nerve sends its pharyngeal branch, which contain actually the fibers of the cranial accessory nerve, which is the 11th cranial nerve. The cranial accessory nerve is the 11th cranial nerve, okay, whose fibers they will join with the vagus, and then through this vagus nerve, the pharyngeal branch of vagus, it will go into the pharyngeal plexus on the posterior aspect of the pharynx. Okay. Second component of this pharyngeal plexus is the pharyngeal branch of the glossopharyngeal nerve. 11th, the ninth cranial nerve, the pharyngeal branch of the glossopharyngeal, but it will send its sensory component, while this vagus, through its cranial accessory nerve, is motor to the muscles of the pharynx. The third component is sympathetic autonomic, and this is coming from superior cervical sympathetic ganglion, and it will send the fibers through this plexus, which are vasoconstrictor to the blood vessels of the pharynx. Okay, now let us come to see, this was the description of the pharyngeal plexus. Let us come to see the motor fibers of pharynx. Now this from cranial accessory, now which has come through the vagus, this supplies to all the muscle of pharynx, okay, all the longitudinal and circular muscle of the pharynx except that of the stylopharyngeus, which is supplied by the glossopharyngeal nerve. While the inferior constrictor, that part of the inferior constrictor which was the cricopharyngeus part, that inferior constrictor receive fibers from the recurrent laryngeal and the external laryngeal nerve. Just see that here, this is not pharyngeal, this is recurrent laryngeal and external laryngeal. So that cricopharyngeus part, which was the lowest part of the inferior constrictor, it is not supplied by pharyngeal nerve, but it is supplied by the laryngeal nerve. Okay, recurrent laryngeal and the external laryngeal. Let's come to the axon. Action of the pharynx is involved in the swallowing. So the detailed action of all these muscles you will learn when you will learn about the deglutition or the swallowing phenomena. But these all muscles, they are, especially the constrictor muscles, three constrictor, they propel, when they constrict, they propel the bolus of the food in from upward in the downward directions. When they keep on constricting superior, middle and inferior, the bolus of the food is pushed downward, okay, while the longitudinal three small muscle, they will, when contract, they will pull the larynx upward during the swallowing process, which is necessary in the process of swallowing. So these are the two different action of the circular and the longitudinal muscle. Circular will push the bolus downward, while that of the longitudinal will lift the larynx upward, which is necessary during swallowing. In applied anatomy of the pharynx, we can say that paralysis of the pharyngeal muscle may lead to the difficulty in the swallowing. And when a patient is not able to swallow because of the paralysis on one side or on both the side, okay, then this condition is called as dysphagia. It is called as dysphagia, okay. So this completes a long question on to the pharynx, okay, on to the pharynx. Okay, though it will take time to understand, see that video 2 or 3 times by keeping the diagrams from your books or atlas in front, and then listen to this video lecture, and I hope that you will understand. It is not easy to understand in the first go. Thank you very much for watching this video.